About what? About the fact that you're the only one here?
Yeah.
No, we're ready to do business.
Was there a memo that went out that I just didn't get?
We have a very brief itinerary, so it's possible that people are interested in, or didn't feel the need to come tonight. Does that mean you get to talk longer?
No. I do have some things to say.
You just quoted the last name.
Finish this one.
Amen.
I'd like to call our April County Council meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. Let's start with prayer.
Father, thank you for this wonderful opportunity on this great day. Lord, we ask for your blessing, we ask for your guidance. We ask that you would guide us now and to continue to guide us in the future. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, Corey. Come on up. We'll follow the itinerary with the minutes are after you tonight.
Thank you, members of the county council. I just left the golf course at Memorial, so that's why I've got my tri gear on. My oldest son plays golf for try, and I don't play golf, and that's not just me being kind. I don't play. He's self-taught, and he learned it on YouTube. I'm being serious. And so that generation gets accused of watching too much YouTube, but there are good things that come out of it, and one of them is to be able to play golf. But it's warmer in here, so believe it or not, I'm happy to be in here because it's really, really cold out on the hillside of Memorial Park. Anyway, this is old news, but it's worth mentioning again. Henry County was awarded $250,000 from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. That was the COVID-19 Phase 3 grant that you all authorized along with the commissioners, and you supported it with a match of $25,000. So thank you for your leadership and your commitment on that. We've been awarded. We'll continue to work with ARA and the administration of that grant, but it is for small businesses anywhere in Henry County, with a special emphasis for businesses located outside of Newcastle. The maximum grant is up to $10,000. We'll open the application process soon. Our application, or your application, to Okra said that the applications would be available on May 3rd. We'll just use that as a draft date. I know as things go in terms of getting contracts signed and the process rolling, I don't know if it'll actually be on May 3rd, but you'll receive a notice when the application window is open. We'll make sure that the county auditor's office and all the county council members and the commissioners are aware. It will be online in terms of a simple Google form. And if that doesn't work for an individual, then a paper application will be available. And we'll process and receive those applications at the EDC office. And then our Enterprise Loan Fund Committee will review those. It's a very similar process that we use for the city Okra COVID grant. Any questions on that? There were well over 100 applications, and they didn't fund every one of them. So, I mean, it was competitive, and I appreciate working with ARA and also your support from a local match consideration. With the passage of the American Rescue Act, there's been a lot of business assistance programs that have come available recently. And we're going to put those out on LinkedIn and on the Facebook page of the EDC. We're in the process of updating our website where there can be like a central location where businesses can go and see the different programs. One of them is a restaurant revitalization fund, and that is through the Small Business Administration, so that's at the federal level. Another one is a shuttered venue. So I think and that's also through the SBA. They're thinking like a movie theater that was just closed, or a performing arts venue that was closed, or a museum. So I sent that link to what I thought were the eligible applicants here in the county. For example, the Geyer Opera House down in Louisville. Because nonprofits, at least what I could read on the eligibility information, nonprofits would be eligible to apply for the Shuttered Venue grant. And then the state of Indiana opened up a hospitality and an entertainment grant. And that's available if you go to the backontrack.in.gov, which has been the common state website dealing with COVID and COVID's response. Governor Holcomb announced a $30 million statewide hospitality and entertainment venue grant, and I sent that to a few businesses directly, and also posted it on the EDC Facebook page and on LinkedIn. So there are numerous related business assistance programs, either as a result of the state budget, which got decided today, that they adjourned, so we're safe now, right? Okay, for a variety of reasons, they adjourned. And then the federal legislation that passed. Questions?
I'm sharing with colleagues up here. Apron did a press release today of all those winners in Henry County is very prominent on the top, page 3, on the 250,000 that you alluded to.
Yeah.
So it's being sent out throughout the state.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. We're pleased to partner with you on that. The County Redevelopment Commission has or will soon have notice to bidders in the marketplace for a new road out north of the new Shell building. It will connect Commerce to Brooks Drive. When we went through our refinancing process last year, we included in that the ability to issue another bond in 21, payable solely from tax increment finance for the specific purpose of building a road. We didn't close on the bond because we weren't far enough along on the road design plans, but we are now. So we're moving forward with inviting contractors to give us a price. We'll take a look at that price, and if it's appropriate and matches up to the bond issue, I expect we'll move forward with that construction. What that does is that opens up land that we already own that's hard to get to. And it also supports the new Shell building with with an additional ingress and egress, or entrance and exit. So if you are on Commerce going to Gilman's, so turn off the 3 on the Commerce, you're going to go left to go to Gilman's. If we build the road, you'll go right. There's already kind of a gravel road there that is an easement back to the lift station, the sewer lift station that serves Forsyth. And so it'll curve around, the road will curve around and end up on Commerce north of the new Shell building. I know you all are not involved in the airport, but I'll give you a quick update. we've got a notice of bidders in the marketplace for an apron expansion at the airport. An apron is basically an expanded parking area for aircraft. And so we had a pre-bidders meeting today with bids due the middle of May. It's subject to a grant award sometime this fall. So there is a lot going on in terms of economic development and community development. I haven't even talked about tourism, and I don't want to take up any more of your time because I know I talk too much. So I'm happy to answer any questions. There's a lot going on in tourism as well. But I stand between you and adjournment, right? Because there's not too many things on this list. So I'm happy to answer questions.
It just feels like we have a lot going on right now, a lot of really positive things. That Okra grant is huge. You guys are doing really good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is more.
Sure, right? Other than talk about golf, right? When do we talk about golf?
All right, are there any changes, corrections that need to be made to our March meeting minutes before we go?
I make a motion that we approve the March minutes.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have received an annual probation report. Do we need to vote to accept, Debbie?
Yeah, I will.
All right, is there a motion to accept the probation, the report from the probation department?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We also received a community corrections annual report. Is there a motion to accept the report as received?
So
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And Chad, you have the job classification report?
We did a job classification meeting. We have a couple items to bring before the council. The first is a change in the salary ordinance for a position in the auditor's office. It is the payroll deputy. The current class is a PAT 2. And the salary ordinance is requesting that we pay as a PAT 2. It's currently being paid as a PAT, or as a Comp 5. The current salary is $35,569. The new salary will be $41,670. We did receive an email from Addie Ricker at Wagner and Shealy confirming that the class was changed and also giving an average rate of the PAT position at $48,674. So the requested number is in line with our PAT rate of $41,670, which we do have other PAT 2 classifications within the county. The committee voted unanimously to approve this request, so we're bringing it before the council. Happy to answer any questions or thoughts, concerns?
This is one of those where we got the report a year ago, like Wagner and Shealy, that was considerably below market value.
Yes.
I thought it stood out to me when we looked at that, that was one of the higher below.
Percentage wise, yes.
Are there other questions for Chad?
just a comment that Chad summarized it well, but Debbie has the money in her budget to make this happen without any difficulty.
That's correct, I left that out, so yes. So it would not require any, because of the position that the auditors had open, she has the funds within her budget to transfer, so it will not require an additional appropriation.
Other questions for Chad or Betsy? The motion for action?
So I would move that the council will approve this new salary ordinance, effective immediately.
I'll second immediately.
A motion and a second. Is there other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item that was brought before the committee was, we've had a number of requests that have been brought before the committee on different aspects of job classification, salary ordinances and such. in talking with our HR department and conferring with department heads, it's been several years since the countywide overlook at the current job classes and salary ordinance have been done by Wagner, Erwin, and Shealy. We spoke with the HR director who was at our meeting, who recommended that, especially in light of the council's interest in looking at trying to work on the salaries, work on getting them more in line with market rate, and doing that this year, that it would be advantageous for us to start immediately in pursuing to get this done. I think it's a huge task to try to do the entire county this year, but the HR director feels she can do that with the help of Wagner, Erwin, and Shealy, and we would have it in time for our budget session. So a motion was made, seconded, and unanimously voted to recommend that we do that. And then there was some discussion, but no motion made of getting back on a cycle like we used to be, with either a 2 or 3 year cycle. It was not discussed specifics, but we need to get back into what the county started about 5 years ago. Was the end of a 3 year cycle where they did that, and it was supposed to continue, but for some reason did not. And I know that predates many of us on the council, but we all felt that's something we should continue to do, because constant changes within the legislature, within the rules, the regulations, the DLGF, the state board of accounts, jobs in general are switching, and we need to make sure we're staying up on it. So the immediate need is to go ahead and give the HR director approval to move forward, but putting the bug in everyone's ear that I think we're probably going to need to come up with a plan to make sure this doesn't get to this point again where we are years out from really looking at all these job descriptions.
Is there expense associated with?
So Wagner is, we have a contract with Wagner, Erwin, and Shealy. That's through the commissioners have a contract with them to oversee this. This would be within our contract confines right now, so there should not be any additional expense. I mean, it's a lot of additional work for the HR director, and she's going to need the full cooperation of all the department heads. But I believe, knowing the way I know everyone, will require some work, but as far as out-of-pocket expense, I don't believe it will be a problem.
I think it's better to do all at once than the ad hoc that's happening right now, so.
Yes. So,
Are there any other questions for Chad or comments?
I think it's a great idea that we shore up big differences in some positions between market value and what we're paying. That's been the topic the last 2 budget sessions.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say what he was describing will help us, again, make more informed decisions based on an objective. And that's what Wagner, Erwin, and Shealy does. And they do this for many counties around the state. So that's their job. They're professionals at doing that through the market research or not.
And if we're going to use the data that they give us to do some type of raise to try to equalize things, it would be good if everyone had an appropriate job classification.
I would make a motion that we give Anna permission to move forward with doing across the board evaluation at this point.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I have one last thing, and it's a hands and knees plea. We have advertised for an open position for the citizen appointee on the job classification committee, and we've done it now for, I believe, the past 2 months, and have yet to get anyone interested. It's a very important committee. We discuss a lot of these types of things, and it does concern tax dollars. So I would, really appreciate any citizens who would be interested. We also have an opening from an employee position that we are needing to fill, and one of our members is actually no longer going to be an employee. So we're going to have 2 employee positions that will need to be filled. So any interested county employee would need to submit their interest to the HR director, and the same with the interested citizen appointee can email myself, the auditor's office, the HR department. We'll make sure that it brings back to the committee. So
without the employee or the citizen, is it just council and commissioners?
it would be the 3 council, which is myself, Councilwoman Mills, and Councilman Morgan, and Commissioner Tarantino. And then we do have 1 employee currently from the sheriff's department who will still remain on.
Oh, there's one.
There's one employee, so we still have one of the body, but we would love to fill those positions.
Two employees, one citizen.
It's,
I think you need to be advertising employee. I think there's an issue with emails and all these different servers. I think last time I advertised it just went up to a few, but she might try and re-advertise that.
I'm going to call Jeff and ask him to do it because I think that could be, but I know that I specifically talked to several department heads and asked them to give me anybody interested and still did not receive any interest. So, yeah, I think I'll send Jeff a text in the IT department and make sure that, I know we are in an odd transition period where we're working off 2 servers, 2 email servers, and there is some crossover hangups because frankly, we ran into that ourselves. But I think a lot of that got worked through that if it's not, but yeah, I will get with Jeff and make sure that goes out.
Those positions come with friendly benefits, right?
Donuts? Any type of benefit?
The gratitude of the committee and the county.
Point whether or not.
Well, I mean, in both aspects, the county employees are, it deals with them and their colleagues' salaries and their classification. In the taxpayer perspective, it deals with the taxpayers' funds. So it's a very important committee that we have, and I'm hoping that would be enough. If I have to bribe people with donuts, I guess that, I can give Lee a call. I'm sure he could hook me up with some jacks.
Without the citizen representatives and the employee representatives, the purpose of that committee is much weakened because we can just make those decisions on our own anyway. The purpose is to get their input.
It is, and we should have 3 of each. Currently, we only have 1 citizen appointee and 1 employee on the committee. So
Are there 6 or 3 citizens?
Yes. Or 2 citizen appointees. So yeah, we're short a citizen appointee and 2 employees will reach very soon.
So if the paper
Their
is here,
vacancy
you
position
can
will
tell
be
me.
ending
Yeah. Okay.
this next week, I believe,
Right.
is last. So yeah, so yeah, we need to replace 2 employees and 1 citizen.
Okay. Thank you.
And with everything coming up, we're gonna have a lot on our plate, so.
Yeah, we're gonna go over all the job classes, everyone's job classification. Okay.
As on this topic, another thing we discussed today was a metrics system, right? For pay. Am I saying it right? Matrix, not metrics, matrix system. And the reason I bring it up is because is that something that we feel like can be accomplished? Because I get the feeling based off past conversations in today's job classification that everybody's kind of on board to move forward, but how to move forward is, I think, where we're stuck at. So is it something that we can wait till budget session and get it accomplished? Or is that something that we need to start looking at now so that we come to budget session ready to accomplish it?
So the finance committee has on their agenda to look at the matrix as well as the bringing the wages back more in line with market rate in the percentage, more of a percentage situation instead of across the board as has been done in the past. That was something that the finance committee has met a few times now And we had a brief work session, I believe it was January, in here, where we discussed that briefly. I think that will be something that's gonna be done multiple times, I think trying to wait until the budget session would be counterproductive, because there's a lot to cover there. And crunching the numbers prior to walking into the budget as to what the effect will be. So, I think there will be several work sessions between now and budget later will need to be taking place.
While we're talking about needing people to step forward and volunteer, we have been advertising for people to sit on the Food and Beverage Advisory Board, and we've had a few people express interest to do that. The specifications are very, very specific, and a few of the ones we've gotten are not actually ones that we could appoint. So for the council, we need people in a town size of less than 2,000. And it has to be an incorporated town.
Correct.
So it can't be Newcastle, Middletown,
Or Knightstown.
Knightstown.
Correct.
But it has to be in an incorporated town.
It has to be in an incorporated town. You can't have two people from the same town, and they have to be of different political parties.
So this would be Moreland, Spiceland, Mount Summit, Silver Springs.
Strong,
Yeah. Is that all?
There's a lot.
I know, it's right
In your county,
there.
Name that town.
Yeah.
And so anyone listening, if you're interested, please send a letter of interest to the auditor's office. And we're accepting applications until May the 5th. Okay, dates for budget workshops. So let's go ahead and talk briefly about when we want to target our budget workshops this year. I was trying to remember what we did last year. Did we go into July?
From my understanding, it needs to be in July or 1st of August. That way this is time.
Does anyone have anything they want to mention up front as far as vacation time or specific days of the week?
I'll be glad to July, that's a big deal, I mean,
Okay. I think that's a little earlier than we usually do anyways, so I think that should be good.
I think we have to wait until we get something from DLGF on estimated,
Our estimated time.
15, July 15th for written information that gives us estimates that Baker Tilly uses to give us an assessment of where we're at and within a range of what we can afford.
It was that last year because of COVID, there may not be that much this year.
How long does Baker Tilly need after they get? Well, they usually go ahead and,
Well, they submit the budgets. We'll have everybody submit their budgets probably by the end of June is what we did. Given the 1st of June, they have till towards the end of June to do it. And then, it doesn't take Baker Tilly very long to go through it once we tell them our budget workshops are set up.
maybe they keep revising it as they get better information from the states.
Yeah, and they pull the information. As soon as I get the budgets input, I send them directly to Baker Tilly.
So the last week of July, is that the time we want to target?
Are we gonna do our 2 weeks?
I think the way we did it last year was good. We did 2 days early in the week and then let it sit the rest of the week and came back 2 days the next week. I felt like that worked well.
it'd be usually called first also.
Yeah. So the last week of July and the first week of
About
August.
4 hours this past year was August. And we didn't even start in July. This
That's
past
what I was thinking, we waited until August.
First week we had 2, and the second week in August we had 2.
So, okay, and I don't care either way. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, last year was the 4th and the 6th and the 11th and the 13th.
Yeah, so we did Monday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Thursday, and then Tuesday and Thursday the next week. So I'm in favor of doing something similar this year. Tuesday and Thursday of one week, and then Tuesday and Thursday of the next week. I think we're still nailing it down. Do you still like to do stuff Monday, or is that?
It's, this far ahead, it doesn't even matter.
Okay.
I can stick with that.
Okay. So I think without hearing a lot of protesting, is it that we're all kind of free that time, or are people still checking? That's so far in advance in my calendar that I'm clear.
So having the 3rd and the 5th and the 10th and the 12th.
I don't have a calendar.
Yeah.
Are you in the last week of July right now?
In August,
So the first 2 weeks of August?
but I don't have.
So in the first week of August, what is the Tuesday, Thursday? What did you say?
3rd and 5th.
3rd and 5th.
And 10th.
Okay.
3rd and 5th of August.
3rd and 5th of August and the 10th and 12th of August. And I think we do 8:30 to, what do we do 8 to 4? 8:30 to 4? What do we do?
It was something like that, yeah.
It's really enough, it doesn't matter. We can just come to 6 and get started. I'm kidding. 8 to 4? August the 3rd and the 5th at 8 to 4, and August the 10th and 12th from 8 to 4. Okay. Does that work? All right, let's keep going. So, 3-5-10. We have 3 updates to come, and one of us has a birthday party to get to. Not me, but I'm advocating for this individual that has a birthday party. So, if you can do an update shorter rather than longer, but if not, that's fine. Kenan, you're up.
Okay. Betsy's handing out a written statement I made with Joe Copeland. You can read about that. The second page of that handout is a pretty poor copy, unfortunately, from my printer, and that occurred in Career Times, I think the day before our March council meeting. So read over that. He's very busy. He's got a plan. And people are working hard with the staff that he has to meet that plan. I would say if they're able to accomplish this, they're going to be giving the new loader that he talked about, a new paving machine sometime in May. He said if it gets it prior to July or June 1, they'll be in good shape for the season, the paving season. There'll be more miles than they've done in quite a few years if they're able to accomplish what's on that map. If you want to see a better picture of it, it's Wednesday before our last council meeting in March, that's in the Courier for the picture.
Has he had any roadblocks he wasn't anticipating?
They are very receptive to people, including commissioners and council members and citizens calling in and saying, I got a road that's falling apart. I called him, I was in some part of the county, and said, hey, it's not on the map, or have you guys rated so-and-so road between such and such? He says, no, it's bad. I go by the next day and they were patching. Very responsive.
I saw that happen over at my house too. Someone mentioned to me they called to complain, and I saw the patch right here.
Then the nice town, the street that goes into the border of Rush County, they took care of it. So, been impressed so far with their actions and the response to citizens calling in with valid concerns. Health Department, I got a 2-page single-spaced update from Angela. I'm going to abbreviate that as much as I can. We're back in blue status, she says. She attributes the fact that we were orange a couple of weeks ago to spring break trips. There are COVID variants in Indiana, including East Central Indiana. Reminds people to just be cautious, be safe. But she also pointed out, and the doctors at the hospitals, they mentioned also our toolbox is much fuller with knowledge today than it was a year ago. It was something new that they had to serendipitously work through methodically, and they know a lot more. They've got more treatments now than they've had, of course, with the vaccines. She said there's been over 11,700 residents fully vaccinated in Henry County. 15,556 received their first. They are now doing 16, 17-year-olds. Pfizer is the only one that's approved by the FDA for under 18. And to schedule someone that's 16 or 17, you have to go through Henry County Health, which is the hospital. They're the only ones that will administer that Pfizer vaccine for the upper teens. Health Department vaccine clinic still at the old Church Street gym. The appointments have tapered off considerably. The appointments have gone down as nationwide. They're taking walk-ins up until 30 minutes before closing, something they haven't done until recently. So they have openings in the old Church Street gym. And they project that's going to be open until July 30th, then it will be moved back to the health department, the Sonic building across the street next to the Justice Center. They receive funds from the Indiana Department of Health, hold large vaccination clinics, like you've seen in Notre Dame and the Speedway, May this year here, with the second dose in June. More details will be forthcoming. The department is providing vaccines for homebound residents that we call LifeStream, and the Newcastle Henry County EMS staff have been helping facilitate those homebound vaccinations. The department this past week has vaccinated over 50 inmates in our county jail, and they'll continue to work with the jail staff to provide more vaccinations in the near future. This is something that she really stressed. There's going to be an upcoming walk-in clinic for school shots that has taken a real backseat this past year. So the required shots for school children have gone down because of priorities given to COVID. And she really stressed this is going to be on Tuesday, June 15th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's basically to prevent the outbreak of 11 preventable childhood diseases, and that has taken a hit this past year. So again, June 15th, a walk-in clinic for school required vaccinations. Last meeting, I mentioned that Angela had submitted a $27,500 to take COVID-related reimbursement from United Way of Delaware, Henry, and Randolph counties. And shortly after that report, she found out she did receive that $27,000. That's part of the economic relief initiative grant. That's a half page of the 2 pages she did. And you have a little bit more than that. I'm going to review what I gave you. Insurance is up the next one. I sat down in the chat and tried to better understand the spreadsheet that they give us monthly. The commissioners get this update, and I requested as well. March was a little bit above average for the last 10 months, but not a lot. It's about 250,000 in medical, 19,000 RX drugs, medications. The company still shows us at about $100,000 a month. The Anthem runout claims, according to the spreadsheet we got, have all been paid as of December, and it's about 136,000 to date. We looked this morning, and it's under the commissioner budget. We've expended 29% of the health insurance budget, and that's pretty much on track. That's as of the last report that we gave us. And most of the departments are about 31% or a little bit above. Partially because we increased that amount 50,000, if I'm not mistaken, at the last budget. That should be the buffer needed to keep us in the block this year. According to the spreadsheet I got, the county pays $1,343 per employee per month in claims and fixed costs, $1,343 per month. And when I remember Chad saying when we were going through the budget on insurance, the county pays over 85% of the actual cost for health insurance for the employee, even after the increase experienced 2 years ago. So it's a big chunk of our budget, as it is in most organizations. Any questions about insurance? I simply want to mention that we've had the one ARP meeting on April 9th. Have our finance committee and commissioners all there, a couple of people from the community, including Corey and Angela as part of that. And we're going to have a second meeting coming up on May the 6th, which is a Thursday at 10 a.m. in here. The alternatives to incarceration, there are 6 subcommittees that the Commissioner of Comp appointed back in November of 2018. The one that continued to operate for over a year and a half was the alternatives to incarceration. And I was looking at mental health and substance abuse after our sheriff told us that 85 to 90% of the inmates were there because of either directly or indirectly because of substance disease or mental health. They'd get out, they never got treatment that they needed, and they would, recidivism rate was really high. They'd be back in, it's just a revolving door, as a lot of correctional institutions have found, if they don't address the problem. There is a chunk of the ARP, the American Rescue Plan, that is set aside for mental health and substance abuse. That's one reason we asked Angela to be on that subcommittee. So something we need to look into as they give us more directions and more specified views and notes from the feds. Anyway, the Alternatives to Incarceration Committee that was chaired by Jerry Cash, Amanda Bowman from Meridian Comprehensive Mental Health, basically. Meridian and myself served on that. We're going to meet next Wednesday afternoon and just see if there's anything that we learned during that year and a half that we met that could help in this endeavor. And then we'll share that with the Sheriff's Department if they want that group's help or assistance or knowledge. And we'll springboard from that. We're meeting next week. ARA came in at the last meeting. They were the grant writers for the $250,000 successful COVID-19 business grant that Corey alluded to. They are sponsoring a first-time homebuyers workshop online via Eventbrite on Saturday, May 1st and Saturday, May the 8th. That's through an organization in South Central, the WRA is located in Columbus, Indiana. Their board has agreed that Henry County citizens can participate free of charge on this two-day workshop, 2 Saturdays. So it's for first-time homebuyers. They're not trying to take over the real estate market in Henry County. It's just totally informational. They're kind of Q&A. And then we would expect the local homebuyer probably to go through our real estate agents, not have to go through the ones that are listed on the portfolio. Any questions?
So with ARA having written the grant that netted the business community $250,000, in effect, they were paid for themselves.
I mean, I've taken several grant writing workshops, and they tell us 2 things. 1 in 7, a good grant writer will get 1 in 7 applications when they're starting out. The other thing is most of them will charge 5 to 10% administrative overhead. That's where they get their payment from. If you look at 5% of $250,000, it's $12,500. If you look at 10%, which some organizations that write grants will charge 10% administrative charge to write the grant, that would be $25,000. They've already paid for the $10,000, and they're still working. They're still working for us. They're also helping us with the 20 owner-occupied through the Stellar grant. And we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing with those 20 residents that are low and moderate income that had been before the organization. So that's on top of, they started that before we paid the contract for them for $10,000. They'll probably do 3 or 4 other grants before. They did do a study for Memorial Park. They gave a multi-page proposal for the board of Memorial Park. They said if they wanted them to administer this 9-month planning program, it would cost $10,000. They have not invoiced us for $1 dime yet. They only would, Tracy said, we're going to pay for you to administer and oversee this 9-month program of improvement at the park. So I'd be up to them to budget. I know they're in the red now because they haven't had any rental for a year, et cetera, et cetera. They're one of the businesses or entities that have suffered from COVID and shutdown.
It wasn't a grant that they did for the park, they wrote a business plan.
They wrote a business plan. So she's our liaison, I gave her a copy, I just received the second, I gave the commissioners, I think Steve is the liaison for the commissioners. They have a copy, and I just received it.
And their rentals don't go back in their budget.
I know, he told me yesterday, go back into the building.
They go into, their rentals go into a
Not
non.
very good. Used to go with general.
Now they get back into the non. So, yeah, I want to make sure that you do that.
They show like $40,000, that's, I think part of that has to do with they're basically shut down for 12 months.
Well, and this is the time of year that they're always, they show until they get their tax draw in March.
Okay, so they're gonna show deficit historically this time of year. Okay, so maybe it's not as bleak as that sounds on paper.
It could partially be more because of that they always do show that this time of year today.
Good, good. Thanks for looking up, as we said. Thanks for looking up in some regards.
So when you guys meet for the alternatives to incarceration, would this be a good time for you to bring up Sheriff McCorkle's potential suggestions for the transition center?
Yes.
The women's,
He was invited.
okay,
He was invited for the purpose of, is there anything that we learned, including the field trip to the JCAP facility in Dearborn County, that you can use from that knowledge we gained over that 16 months that we met regularly. That culminated in a visit to JCAP in Dearborn County, and that was an outstanding visitation. We learned a lot from their program. And they've been highly successful in reducing the recidivism rate of their repeat offenders in a correctional facility. They told us it was like 75% success, which is 3 to 4 times the national average. So it's something that got our attention, and they had IU do their study that showed that statistic.
it would just be exciting. I mean, they could potentially have a building in the transition center if there's a program to go with it, which we just knew it was premature to say that there was, but maybe there is.
And one of the things we learned during that 16 months or so that we met regularly is there's a lot of entities in town doing their own thing. And one of the things we're trying to break down are the silos. That these individuals and these groups and these facilities talk to each other and cooperate and come together so everyone's not doing their own thing and doing collaboratively. And I think that was mentioned today at the steel setting. Collaboratively, we can do a lot more than we can separately. And it's like the city and the county working together, the state, the city, and the town. There's about 5 entities in town working on substance abuse. Maybe we can coordinate some of these efforts. In fact, tomorrow, Drug-Free Wayne County is invited Jerry and me to be online for what they're doing over there. They're doing some good things. We visited them a year and a half ago when alternatives to incarceration meeting. We went to one of their meetings and it was really impressive. They got the whole county involved, not just Richmond. So.
Are there any questions for him?
Sorry, I used my time in quotes.
I decided to put one more quick question. What's the balance of their insurance fund?
After the deposit tomorrow,
$160,000.
about $160,000, right?
Anyone else? Anyone? Okay, sorry, Betsy.
All right, so Stacy emailed everybody, the coroner's report, actually I forgot to attach it, but this morning we should gotten the people. Coroner's report, we talked about this a bit in our work session today, but not all of our council members were there, and the public would also be interested in the highlights here. I think one of the big takeaways is that we are really on track for more deaths that the coroner's office has gone on in the county this year than in many previous years. Stacy said that in a year of high deaths, it would be around 100. And that would be an outlier. And we have 39 coroner calls in the county so far this year. So this pace, we might be looking at approximately 120 deaths in the county. That's a lot. And that also correlates with having to do more autopsies. You know, Stacy's been doing more autopsies anyway, just following the best practices in the field. It sounds as if there should be more autopsies all along, but here we are. And Stacy also mentioned that there have been a lot of really difficult calls in the last few months, and especially this weekend, we saw a woman lost her life in a great accident, which is just so sad. I'm glad that Stacy is the person responding and helping these people, because there's been a lot of sadness. Obviously, we need to keep an eye on autopsies. He's aware of that. He's been examining, potential cost savings. I think with Dr. Sozio, the medical examiner, what they have now is the best bang for the buck and most convenient to the county, since he's going to travel here. Stacy's also aware that with toxicology, which can be $350 or $500, it's a good chunk of money. The state will reimburse that if it is potentially regulated. So knowing that and having Dr. Sozio file toxicology that way might be some good savings for us. And so he's starting to implement that. Finally, I know we've talked about GEO for forever, and this month Stacy has submitted the invoice to GEO for $33,000 in unpaid autopsies from years past. And he worked very hard to get exactly what those numbers were. Final the autopsies, Dr. Sozio assisted. This is obviously just a huge win and just a reimbursement for the county and the taxpayers. And finally, he mentioned this today, Stacy's actually been asked to sit on a panel and present at this year's Indiana's Corners Association conference. And I think that's a reflection of his many years in law enforcement, and also he's been a coroner before, searched for 8 years. I hadn't realized this, but I guess Stacy's specialization in law enforcement was specifically death investigation. He's done many trainings in that area for local law enforcement, fire, EMS, you name it. So I think it's great that even at the statewide level, he's being recognized for his experience and prowess in the field, and that reflects well on Henry County, and that's really good. So anyway, that's about it.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, that brings us to the end of our itinerary. Our next scheduled meeting is May 27th. Is there any other business from the council? Anyone in the audience that would like to speak to us this evening?
What are the two groups that you guys are looking for citizens from again?
The Food and Beverage Advisory Board, if you're not familiar, we receive a food and beverage tax, and in the past, we had an advisory board set up, and it hasn't really existed for a few years. And it has been an advertisement in the paper that our attorney drafted that was very specific, because the details are very specific. And the other one was the job classification. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. Anyone else? All right, thank you all for coming tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn? Meeting adjourned.
We got this on.
Yeah, just coming down.